In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a couple calculations for the type A and B lots for this assignment. I'm going to take a look at lot 1 first, and I'm going to use the typical road section, and I'm going to use the profile to get the information. So all I did was screenshot these and put them into one group. So you'll have all the pieces here so you can see as I go along. I'm going to do this in Excel. So what I've done is I set up a spreadsheet to figure out elevations. So I'm going to look at station 20 plus 74.05. The elevation here is 112.78. So my center line elevation is 112.78. And for station 2248.29, the center line here at this point right here is 112.74. 112.74. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the typical section to find what slopes and links that I need to find to figure out the elevation at the front lot lines. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a couple calculations for the type A and B lots for this assignment. I'm going to take a look at lot 1 first, and I'm going to use the typical road section, and I'm going to use the profile to get the information. So all I did was screenshot these and put them into one group. So you'll have all the pieces here so you can see as I go along. I'm going to do this in Excel. So what I've done is I set up a spreadsheet to figure out elevations. So I'm going to look at station 20 plus 74.05. The elevation here is 112.78. So my center line elevation is 112.78. And for station 2248.29, the center line here at this point right here is 112.74. 112.74. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the typical section to find what slopes and links that I need to find to figure out the elevation at the front lot lines. Now we're going to take a look at B lots. So I'm going to make all of these lots here B's and these lots here B's. Now I'm not going to worry about tying down into existing grade. We'll either deal with it as a retaining wall or it'll have steep slopes, but I just want to show you how to do calculations for A's and B's. And the reason these are B's is because there's a stormwater management pond here that can collect the water. So I'm actually going to take a look at lot 9. So I should have saved it as let me do file, save as, just so I can post these. This is a type B. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use Excel again. So I'm going to look at the front lot corners, and I've given you the front lot corners of lot 9, and one of them is 114.93 and the other one is 114.93. So this makes it pretty simple. Okay, that means there's a high point right here, and water's going to roll to the left and it's going to roll to the right. It's going to drain down. Now I need to figure out these. Well, when you say it's a lot B, it means that there's a high point in the center of the lot. Okay, so I need to figure out the center elevation in addition to the rear elevations, in addition to the finished floor. So I need 3 points. All right. So the water is going to flow from this midpoint to the front, the midpoint to the back. Again, it's going to be midpoint to the side. Mirrored on the other side. Some of the water is going to go to the front. It's basically split in half. And water is going to go to the back. Okay. All right. So my Excel sheet. We'll start with the 114. We know the total length of the lot is 92.90 on both sides, 92.90. I'm going to take that and I'm going to divide it by 2 because I want the midpoint of the lot. Minimum slope is 1%. So I am going to take the, I am going to take the front lot corner plus the midpoint of the lot times the slope, the length to the midpoint of the lot times the slope. So that's what these values are. And since we're putting it in the middle, the rear values are going to be 114.93 and 114.93. Now that value may be different depending on where I put the high point, but since I'm putting the high point in the middle, it means that it is a mirror image. Okay, so let me bring that back. 115.39. 115.39. All right, now the lot width is 72, is a 55.29 in the front and 172 in the rear. So what I want to do is, usually I take the average, and this isn't always perfect, but I want to know what the length here is, okay, at the midpoint. Length of lot at the midline, okay, where that 46.45 is. So the front and the rear length, front length is 55.29 and the rear is 172. I'm just going to use round numbers. So let's just go 55. So the average, in the area average is, I'm going to say this plus this divided by 2. So that's the average length to the center line. Okay? So that is the length to the midline. All right? Now, I want to know what basically this length here is, from here to here. Okay? That's what I want to know. The length from there to there. And that is, so if the total length from midpoint to midpoint, granted it's on an arc, I'm just doing straight lines, this will get me close, is 113.5 feet. So the length to the midpoint is equal to this value divided by 2. Okay, so from basically the center here to the midpoint here is about 57 feet. From the midpoint here to the midpoint of that line there, again, is about, because it's mirrored, is about 57 feet. And its slope, and I like to use Excel for math, it's just easy, and the slope is 1%. So if I know that I've got, and I'm going to put it here, elevation at midpoint of lot, okay, we said it was, and if one was higher than the other, we would use the higher lot, we would use the higher value. This is the same, so it's going to be 115.939, okay. So if I want the elevation to figure out this dead center, I would take the elevation from the midpoint, looking at which one is higher, because that's going to give me the highest elevation on the lot. So these two are the same, but let's pretend this one was actually higher. You pick the higher one, you set it here and go, okay, I've got 115.39. I know to the center of the lot is 56.75 feet, and I know the slope to the center of the lot is 0.01. So that means if I take the center line point elevation right here, and I add the length to the center of the lot, which is the 5675, times the slope, 0.01 in foot per foot, then I know this center point is 115.96. 115.96. Okay? Now, elevation and midpoint of the lot line. Let's call it that. Midpoint of the lot line. So the elevation at the mid, or in the center of the lot, is equal to 115. Now the finished floor elevation, remember we add 8 inches, which is 0.67 feet. So the finished floor is actually going to be the center lot elevation plus 0.67. So this is going to be that center point. I forgot to write that in. 115.96. Oopsie. And the finished floor, move this over here, is going to be 116.63. Now, sometimes this doesn't always work perfectly. We have to look at the driveway slopes, and that's a little bit above this class, but if the driveway slopes are too large, then we may have to rethink what that finished floor elevation is. But right now, that is how I kind of think through figuring out the grading for the different types of lots. All right, hope this helps.